Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel 100% Pure Elvis. As always, thank you for returning to my channel 100% Pure Elvis, and if you are new to the 100% Pure Elvis channel, welcome aboard and thank you for joining. As you are all aware, recently I have been reviewing Elvis Presley's studio albums from the 1970s, and I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you who have contributed to my uploads and reviews, and thank you for sharing your thoughts. I have two more albums to share with you all today on this upload. They are not studio albums or live albums, but they are Elvis Presley albums that were issued in the 1970s. The first one is a 1970 issue from RCA Camden, and it is the album Let's Be Friends. So again, as I was saying, issued in 1970 on the RCA Camden label. A great image of Elvis there on the front. I think the image of Elvis there is possibly at the time Elvis was filming the movie The Trouble with Girls and How to Get Into It. I think it's quite an impactful front cover design. A great image of Elvis from 1969 with a catalogue number of INTS 1103. INTS 1103. This is an album that you can easily pick up. Whenever I go into a second-hand shop and I look in the vinyl section, you always get to see this. Go to any vinyl fairs, Amazon, eBay, Discogs. It's an album that's always available to purchase, and it's actually quite cheap to get a hold of as well. £10–15 upwards, dependent on condition. On the back cover, another great shot of Elvis there from the 1968 comeback special with the track listing as well, which I will share with you all. And the track listing on this great album is Stay Away Joe from Stay Away Joe, If I'm a Fool for Loving You, Let's Be Friends, Let's Forget About the Stars, which was recorded for the movie Charo but wasn't chosen for the movie, Mama from Girls, 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 I'll Be There If You Ever Want Me, Almost from The Trouble with Girls, Change of Habit from Change of Habit, and Have a Happy from Change of Habit. And I absolutely love that track listing. I love If I'm a Fool for Loving You, Change of Habit, Let's Forget About the Stars. And I also love Almost from The Trouble with Girls and Have a Happy from Change of Habit. And for a budget release in 1970 from RCA Camden, I think it is such a great choice of songs. And again, this performed really well for Elvis in the UK and Europe. And obviously, when it was issued in 1970, did it do any damage to other Elvis albums that were being issued at that time, like official studio albums? I don't think so, because in 1970, the albums that Elvis was releasing did so well in the UK album chart. So I don't think this did any damage whatsoever. And I just think it was a great touch from RCA Camden to get this out. And the track listing very different from what was issued before. Let me share with you the vinyl inside. And I ain't going to get the sleeve out because unfortunately the sleeve inside is slightly torn. But it comes on the blue RCA Camden label there. And again, the vinyl itself could be in better condition. It's not scratched in any way, but there's a couple of scuff marks on it. But it still plays very well indeed. But the sleeve inside is the normal white sleeve. But because it's slightly ripped on one side, I didn't want to get the white sleeve out, so I just thought I'd get the vinyl out. What's your thoughts on this album release from 1970? Do you think RCA Camden should have released it? Do you think it was needed, or do you think it should have been left alone and they should have just concentrated on the studio album releases? For me personally, I'm glad it got released. It did really well for Elvis, and an album that is easily picked up to this day. The next album I'm going to share with you all was issued in 1975. very different from the album I've just shared with you. The album in question again was issued via RCA Victor, and this is a import on the Pop Revival label, Elvis the Sun Collection. And I just love again the Elvis font here. So it's from the 1970s Elvis font. So the lettering of Elvis is from the 1970s. Obviously, the image used here of Elvis is from the 1950s, and I think it's quite I think that front cover is really impactful. What's your thoughts on it? Is it an album front cover that you just do not like, or do you think it's impactful? And on the back, you got your track listing, and there's another Elvis album here that they are promoting, which is simply called Elvis, and catalogue number HYS. No, sorry, HY1001. HY1001. I've had this in my collection for about a year now, I believe, and I think I paid £20 for it, if I do remember correctly. So I think you are possibly looking at upwards of 10, 15, £20. Again, eBay, Discogs, and even try Amazon. The track listing on this superb album. That's All Right Mama, Blue Moon of Kentucky, I Don't Care If the Sun Don't Shine, Good Rockin' Tonight, Milk Cow Blues Boogie, You're a Heartbreaker, I'm Left, You're Right, She's Gone, Baby Let's Play House, Mystery Train, I Forgot to Remember to Forget, I'll Never Let You Go, I Love You Because First Version, Trying to Get to You, Blue Moon, Just Because, I Love You Because second version. And for me, it's where it began, isn't it? Pure, raw Elvis rock and roll. What can't you like about this album? I think when it was issued in 1975, obviously I was only 2 years old, but I would imagine RCA released this so newer fans of Elvis had the opportunity to go out and buy an album purely with the Sun recordings on it. What's your thoughts on that? I mean, or was it released for another reason? But that's my thoughts behind why RCA decided to release this. Again, this performed really well in the UK and around Europe. And again, you know, would I choose a favourite of this album? It's a difficult choice. My favourite song, obviously, as you all know, from the 1950s, is I Need Your Love Tonight. But from the Sun years, it would go to You're a Heartbreaker. I absolutely adore You're a Heartbreaker. Trying to Get to You, I'll Never Let You Go, I Forgot to Remember to Forget, I'm Left, You're Right, She's Gone. Again, just so many on here that you just think, it's just too difficult to choose. But yeah, You're a Heartbreaker. That's one that I would go to. And let me share with you the vinyl inside. Again, comes in its white sleeve. But look at the RCA middle there. It's on a white RCA Victor middle there, and I've not seen that very often. Is that rare? I'm not overly too sure. And let me share with you the vinyl. So vinyl is in very good condition indeed. I haven't played this possibly for a few months, but it plays so well. And put that back inside. And again, when you're looking at what album you want to play of Elvis, or what compilation you want to put on, or live album that you want to put on, I think it's dependent on mood and what you feel like that you want to put on. But I just think, let me get these two albums back up. I mean, when you look at these two albums, I mean, how different are they from each other from the 1970s? You got one which is from 1970, but got songs on it that were issued in the 60s, late 60s, and then you got the Sun recordings from the 50s on the 1975 release of the Sun collection. And I think, as an artist, that is what we loved about Elvis. He turned himself to any music genre that was needed at that time. So you look at the 1950s, pure rock and roll. Elvis brought it to the masses. He was the first artist in the rock and roll era to absolutely get. He just got it, you know. He came at the right time, in my personal opinion, and then goes into the army, comes out of the army, and then the music scene had changed. It was like people wanted to hear more pop songs, as I would call them. So Elvis conformed to that. He started being more poppy, and again, so for me, I tend to look at when he came out of the army. I mean, you look, it was Stuck on You, Fame and Fortune, so different from them 1950s recordings. But again, if Elvis wouldn't have conformed, I mean, could he have been more? Could he have carried on being as successful? Possibly not. And then going into the movie years with the soundtracks, we've all got our own personal opinions on certain movie soundtracks from the 1960s. That's not to say, in any way, shape, or form, that Elvis still wasn't successful. He was. He was so successful with some of his soundtrack recordings. I mean, like the soundtrack to Blue Hawaii, the soundtrack to GI Blues stayed in the UK album charts for months and months on end and stayed at #1 for weeks and weeks on end. So again, you know, it wasn't the fact that Elvis was going away from the music scene that he brought to us. He was conforming. He was conforming to, at that time, what the music scene was about. You go into the mid 1960s, the Beatles. Obviously, the Beatles brought out again the music that people wanted to hear. Elvis at that time was stuck in the movies, wasn't recording the sort of music that people wanted to hear. But Elvis still had his core fan base that would buy anything that he released. And then, you know, for me, the difficult years that I think for Elvis was possibly from 1965 up to 1968. I think them 3 years there was very difficult for Elvis in on the music scene. And one of them was because of the Beatles, I personally believe, because the Beatles were huge worldwide. There wasn't anywhere where the Beatles didn't sell en masse. And so for me, but then the 68 special, Elvis coming out into that circle with the people around him in that black leather, outstanding, and raw emotional talent. You could see Elvis knew, I've absolutely got to take this. I've got to take this opportunity to show the public and the music scene and my fans that I still have the raw energy to perform the songs that I want to perform. And then obviously going into the later 1960s and early 1970s, back to where he belonged. So again, two very different releases from RCA in the 1970s. And for me, did they do any damage to the Elvis brand at that time? Did they do any damage to the studio albums that were being issued around that time? Let's go back to the RCA Camden release from 1970 of Let's Be Friends. I don't think so, because the albums were doing so well from the early 70s. And as I've said before, the album, the Sun Collection from 1975, it did sell better than the studio album at that time, because at that time, Elvis music again was on the decline. His fans wasn't buying his studio albums. They were buying mostly the compilation albums where his hit singles were on them, etc., and the early music. So again, that is why the latter albums didn't perform as well. So again, thank you for returning to my channel to watch my upload on these two releases from the 1970s. So we have Let's Be Friends from 1970, the Sun Collection from 1975. Both really easy to add to your collection. If you don't have them already, I would get them added to your collection. Both of them really cheap. The Sunday collection would be the one that's the most expensive out of the two. But again, if you're an avid collector of Elvis on vinyl, you know, for me, I'd get them added to your collection. I mean, if not, then obviously that's your choice. But I think they're two great releases from the 1970s. And again, what I will be doing going forward is doing other reviews on Elvis related albums from the 1970s. Then I'm going to turn my attention to the singles from the 1970s and were the right single choices made from RCA in the 1970s? Because again, that wouldn't have been Elvis's decision. So singles that were being released in the 1970s, them decisions came from RCA and Colonel Tom Parker, I believe. So again, were the right singles being released? And at the top of my head, there's a few songs on some albums I think would have performed better than the choices that were lifted from them albums, and I will share them all with you real soon. So again, before I sign off, I have been asked by a couple of my subscribers how come I'm not doing as many book reviews anymore. Now again, I will do some. I will possibly be doing more book reviews later this weekend, or possibly going into early next week. The reason I don't do as many at the moment is it takes a long time to do a book review, because for me, the photo books are fine because I can video them and talk through the pages, but the books itself, if I've got a new book to my collection on Elvis, I want to give a true reflection on that book. So I want to read that book first and then do an upload of that book and then give my true feelings on it. The books that I've already got in my collection of Elvis, some of them are just books that don't really have many photos inside. And again, I don't really see the point in uploading them sort of books. If you want me to, I certainly will do that. I mean, I can give an honest opinion on books in my Elvis collection that are just purely about his life, but don't really have any photos inside, etc. And a very good subscriber of mine, Gina, over at Patrick At's Place. I mean, we share the same interest in Elvis books. When I purchase an Elvis book, it's not for the photos inside, it's for what I think that book is about. I want to read that book. I want to see what my thoughts are on that book. And again, the books in my collection that I want to share with you all are books that I hope you will all enjoy. So, like the Elvis Files, Aloha from Hawaii, the Change of Habit book, the Follow That Dream books. Again, I have uploaded all of them already. So, if you're new to my channel, or you are a new subscriber, or not seen most of my videos, I have uploaded over 400 videos now on my channel. So some of them might be not lost, but when you look at 100% Pure Elvis online, some of them uploads will be a lot further down. So if you want to look at, I would go to the Elvis Files books first. So go back to my channel and just look for the Elvis Files. They are great books to look through with me. I've done a comprehensive review on each of the books, and I hope you enjoy them. But give yourself some quality time to look at them uploads. Some of them are 35, 40, 45 minutes up to an hour long, because some of them books have got over 600 pages of pure Elvis, and on each and every page, they're just outstanding. The books are very hard now to get a hold of, and they are very expensive. So obviously, I'm someone on my channel that if you are not in a fortunate position like myself to be able to go out and buy these books or able to get them into your collection, I've got it on my channel for you to go back to time and time again to have a look at, because they are up close in front of me. You know, I am sharing each and every single individual page. So again, thank you for getting back to me about my book reviews. I will be doing more. I promise you that. And the same goes for some magazine reviews. I will be doing some more of them coming forward. And but again, you know, I just want to again concentrate on my vinyl collection. But to sign off, please share your thoughts on these two great albums, and I look forward to seeing your comments below. And as always, if you haven't subscribed to my channel but love what you see, please hit the subscribe button. It will help make my channel grow no end. And please share my channel with other Elvis fans that maybe don't know about 100% Pure Elvis. They would be more than welcome, the more the merrier, and welcome to the 100% Pure Elvis family. And as I always sign off by saying, please keep Elvis close to your heart. Please keep on playing his music. That is most important to me. We must keep playing Elvis music. Even if it's one song a day, let's play Elvis. And as always, loved you all. Speak soon, everybody. Bye-bye.